Now, challenge number one is cash flow, or better put, money management. Most new PIs have little to no experience working with budgets, forecasting revenues, calculating things like earnings and taxes, and all of that mumbo jumbo. But all of that mumbo jumbo is an absolute necessity in business. Now, cash flow, simply put, is having enough money coming in to cover what has to go out. The biggest challenge most new PIs have is managing that inflow to ensure they always have enough for the outflow. Now, the first thing I suggest is to make sure you have a salary cap on yourself. It is way too easy to look at every dollar coming in and assume it is all your personal income. You need to pay yourself a set amount each month or each week or bi-monthly, whatever works for you. I still do this even today after all these years. Now, you never know what's going to happen in your business. Just because you had 2 huge cases come in this month, it doesn't mean you're going to have 2 huge cases next month. Protect those funds wisely. Besides paying yourself a set salary, you also need to spend thriftily and wisely. I always suggest to spend money JIT, just in time. Only spend it when you absolutely need to. It doesn't make a lot of sense to go to the office supply store, buy a box of paper and see it's on sale, and then buy 5 boxes of paper, and now you have paper for the next 5 years. The store is always going to have sales. Don't fall for their gimmicks. Stick to your needs when you need them, and you should be fine. Now, the same thing goes for your database usage. Don't just sit there in your paid database clicking away. Each click costs you money. Nothing is worse than thinking you spent $100, then you get the bill and you found out you spent $500. A penny saved is a penny earned, as my grandmother used to say, and someday those pennies may make the difference. This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today. You should also anticipate things such as taxes. And when I say anticipate, I don't mean, yeah, I know they're coming. I'll have to deal with that one of these days. I would suggest that you sit down with a tax professional and get help to forecast what you're going to owe, and then make a plan to either save or pay quarterly or whatever makes the most sense for you and your business. I have seen so many PIs wait until April 15th, do their taxes, then sit and wonder why they owe so much. Tax prep is a lot more than just filling out that piece of paper. You need to know things about what deductions are allowed and when you can pay and when you should pay. If you owe too much and the IRS thinks you should have paid quarterly, you'll probably be paying some hefty fines on top of your taxes. I just say do it right, save yourself some headaches. I pay a CPA $300 or $400 a year to prep my taxes and give me advice throughout the year. He has always saved me tons, even when I've had to pay in a lot of money. And the time that I would have spent doing them is not wasted. I am serious, folks. I probably spent 30 to 40 hours a year doing my taxes when I used to do them myself. Now it's just sending my CPA all of the reports and wait for him to send everything back, and I know when I send it in, it's done correctly. Obstacle number 2 to avoid is individual dependence. This can mean you or one of your employees or a subcontractor or anyone else that the company depends on so much. If that one person is gone, the business goes under. Now, I know this is tough for a one-man or a one-woman shop, which that's what most of us are. Obviously, up front, it may be you and just you and only you. So if you break a leg, the business is going to suffer. But as you move along, start working on a plan to avoid this challenge. I have gotten to where I subcontract out a good deal of the work that I get in my business. I used to work it all myself as much as possible, keep the money for myself, I said, but then I had some health issues arise, and I realized I couldn't do it all, and I was not set up to sub. Luckily, I had time to rearrange some things, reinvent my business plan, and now my business is stronger than ever. If you subcontract people or have employees, you want to make sure you manage those assets well also. You don't want to have just one surveillance investigator. Then if something happens with him or her, you're left hanging. Not saying that you can't have your favorite, not saying that you can't have a go-to, but always have some backups in place just in case, and always feed those backups a little bit now and then to make sure that they're available when you need them. Number 3 on our list of 5 obstacles and challenges for your PI business is equalizing growth and quality in your business. So many times I have seen someone think, wow, I'm growing in leaps and bounds, doubling business every 6 months, can't hardly keep up. Then sooner or later, they can't keep up. And the client is the one to suffer with poor service, poor work product, lack of communication, and all of the other bad things that arise from growing pains. Make sure you grow with a plan. Know what you will do when new clients or new work comes on board. Don't promise to take it all on at once. If a new client comes on board and says, hey, we have 20 cases a month for you, you should say, great, let me put together an onboarding plan to ensure that we can handle that workload for you long term. Wow is going to be the response. They're going to be like, wow, you plan things? That's great. That's why we want you on our team. Then build a plan that is feasible and practical for you and your business. If that new client is going to double your business, there is no need for you to double your workload. Figure out what portion of your current work you will ultimately do and what portion of that new client's work you will do, and then who will do the rest. You have to also keep in mind, in 6 months, another new client may come along. You better have plans for that work as well. You may need to bring in a new sub or an employee. There's training time for them and onboarding time for them. Don't hire someone and expect them to be an expert day one. Have a good plan that brings them in quickly, but bring up their workload in a controllable time frame. That leads us into number 4 on today's list, fatigue. Yep, too much work makes for a tired PI, and trust me, no one wants a tired, old, overworked PI. This creeps up on all of us eventually. We keep pushing, we keep saying, I got this, I can handle this, one more hour, another hour, one more case, one more. What the heck was I doing? Fatigue leads to bad business decisions and sloppy work product, to include just not doing the work, which is problematic in and of itself. Make sure you schedule your hours appropriately. I always suggest to make sure you manage your hours to what your dream hours of work were when you started your PI business. Now, did you start your own PI business thinking, gosh, I hope I can work 70 to 80 hours a week and never see my family again? I really doubt it. I know I didn't. But when I first started, I worked myself into that mode of operations, and it really wore me down. I remember working 6 to 7 days a week on surveillance every single day for several years. Up at 4 a.m., some days I got to sleep in until 5, got home mid-afternoon, took a quick siesta, then up all evening and up all night, writing updates, writing reports, editing video, then back out 4 a.m. the very next day. Then I got busier. I got more clients, then I started subbing work out. So I was working a surveillance and managing a surveillance at the same time most days. Then it hit me. The fatigue wore me out. I couldn't keep up. I had to rewrite my master plan because I was no longer the master of my plan. Now I work my dream hours I want. I have time to do the things I need to, and if business picks up suddenly, I have some flex in my schedule to get it all done. One of the simplest solutions to these last two and possibly all of these obstacles is to know when to raise your rates. When the work starts coming in so fast you can't keep up, it's time to raise your rates, folks, but that is a topic for a future episode. Number 5 on our list of 5 challenges and obstacles to avoid in your PI business is client dependency. This is probably the number 1 killer of PI businesses. They get one big law firm, one big insurance company, one big contract, one big client that sends them 90% of all of their work. Man, these clients are great. Well, until they're no longer clients. Now, I always use my own pathetic mistakes to help educate people like you, and today is no exception. When I got into criminal defense investigations, I had one client to start. I picked up some other work here and there, but that one client, his business grew, and it grew, and it grew. I got to where I couldn't hardly handle all of the work from my other clients. I ended up subbing out a lot of that other work. Now, that other work used to be the work that paid the bills, covered my paycheck, sent me on vacation, things like that. But now it was just that other work. It got to where this client was giving me about 20 cases a month. It was crazy for me, my dream. Or was it? The client ended up, after about 10 years of working with him, closing shop. I was like, whoa, that is a huge part of my business. This happened in a December. So the next year I started off with a projection of a 70% decline in my revenues. Now that business line went from 3 to 4 cases a month to 20 plus in about a 3-month period and was sustained for about a year. I was able to keep answering my phones for the most part, keep some of my other clients for the most part, and I was able to rebound fairly quickly. Well, yeah, for the most part. To top that off, another attorney client of mine retired the very next year. So I lost 2 big accounts in a short period of time. I know when you start. You may need to have that one big client to make ends meet, but you need to have a plan to get clients 2 through 20 in place too. As they say, don't put all of your eggs in one basket and don't trust one client to provide your income for life. I would rather have to deal with 20 regular clients and know if I lose one or two, it's a small percentage. But if I lose one, it's 70% or more of my business. Bonus tip, obstacle number 6 to avoid is it's yourself, folks. Don't second guess your plans. Don't get in the way of your dreams. Don't get stuck in a rut because you have to because you're the boss. Make sure you evaluate your business and your plans, both business and life plans. Evaluate them frequently and make sure you manage your business and your plans. Don't let them manage you.